Thanks, Charlie. Hey, Renegades, it's Sean Smith. And of course, we've got to talk about this win over the Vancouver Canucks. Now, I don't want to get into the whole, did they beat a good team? Did they beat a bad team thing? I feel like I've beaten that dead horse enough here recently. I'll let you come to that conclusion on your own. And of course, you probably think I'm going to talk about the fact that the Predators had this game won in regulation 4-2 with a little over a minute left in the game and somehow wound up having to go all the way to a shootout to secure those 2 points. That's not what I'm going to talk about. I want to talk about the bright spots. And the reason I'm talking about the bright spots, no, it's not because I think I've been too negative or I've been too harsh. It's because I think what you saw tonight, the positive you can take away from tonight is that let's say that the Predators do become sellers and they start selling off some big pieces. You're going to be left with players like the ones you saw shine tonight. And those are the three players I want to highlight. And I'm going to dip a little bit into the statistics bag here. Not anything advanced or crazy, just stuff that dumb folk like me can understand. So here's the thing. Let's talk about three guys that I think stood out big time tonight, that drove play tonight, and I think gave you hope for what a future without some of the star players on this team might look like. Number one, let's talk about Juuso Parssinen. Juuso Parssinen had 2 assists tonight. And what I think is impressive about those assists was that even though the goals that they ultimately resulted in were great goals, they didn't happen without Parssinen. And I'll say the first one especially, Tomasino's goal. Tomasino's goal looked great. When you watch the highlight film of that goal, you're going to see Tomasino do a lot of work. But it's Parssinen's just precision pass that gets to him right where it needs to be, no issues handling it, allows Tomasino to just take off down the ice and make things happen. And of course, I'm looking over here at my numbers, but Parssinen also had a hand in getting that Granlund goal there toward the end of the game, which I think was also a big deal. I think Glass had more to do with it. We'll talk about that in a minute, though. Speaking of Cody Glass, hey, look, Cody Glass, I think, is someone who's been fairly impressive this season. I think he's getting more time on the top lines, and I think that's making a big difference. And I think, moving forward, you can expect to see Cody Glass up in the top 6, and I think that's what you want to see. But here's the thing, and this is what's exciting. Glass makes that Granlund goal happen. I don't know if Granlund hadn't tapped it in, if it would have had enough time to drift over the line, but that was all Glass getting that puck there, getting it to where it was, and giving Granlund the opportunity to come in and tap it in. I've heard someone say before that assists are just as good as goals, and realistically, think about that play. There's no way that goal happens without Cody Glass. But that's the kind of thing that I have seen out of Glass this season. That's the kind of stuff that I know that Glass is capable of and has been doing all season long. So here's the thing. Let's talk about one more young guy, and that's Tommy Novak. And I'll say this about Novak. Novak's looked really good recently, and I think you're starting to see kind of what happens when you have a guy that maybe has been in the AHL for a while but has a lot of promise and has been brought up, and sometimes those stars just don't align the way you want them to. Novak came up and played for a good stretch of the Predators last season, ended up in the COVID protocol, and then went back to the AHL and never really came back up again. But that's also when you saw Michael McCarron get called back up into the NHL, and that he kind of took over that spot. I think you've seen a lot more out of Novak over the past few games than you've ever really seen out of McCarron. And I hate saying that because McCarron seems like a great guy. Everybody on the team seems to really like what he brings to the team, but you can't argue with the results that Novak's getting. Novak's assist on Niederreiter's goal tonight, again, there's just like the Glass assist with Granlund's goal. There's no way that goal happens without Novak doing what he did to get the puck where it was, giving Niederreiter the opportunity to blast it in. And that's the kind of thing I'm saying, is you're starting to see some of these younger players really distinguish themselves as guys who, if this team has to be sold off, if things start happening, if a retooling, reworking, rebuilding, whatever is to actually come to fruition, and again, I'm not inspired by tonight's game that this should sway things out of the gray area and into the bye situation or the we're going to make the playoff situation that I think a lot of people are hoping for. These are the guys that I think you're going to enjoy watching play every night. And I think the people who may be on the fence or maybe saying, I don't want to let these bigger contracts go yet. I think these are the exciting players. These are the guys I want to watch. I think you're going to enjoy watching a lot of these guys too. I think when they get more chances, they get more time with stronger line mates higher up in the roster, higher up in the lineup, first, second line. I think you're going to see some results from these guys. It'll surprise you, and I think it'll keep you coming back for more. You look at a team like the Canucks, not one of the best teams in the NHL, not in a playoff spot. They've sold off some pieces, but they've got some young guys on that team that are really fun to watch. So I think you could look forward to a future like that with the Predators if you're willing to buy into the idea that they need to make some kind of change, some kind of massive change that they haven't really made before. So Renegades, that's what I've got for you. Charlie, I'm going to send it back over to you.